All right, let's take a trip back in time, back to the 1980s. A decade of big hair, big money, and of course, even bigger shoulder pads. And right at the heart of it all was one television show that totally captured the era's obsession with wealth, power, and some serious unapologetic glamour. Today, we are diving into the incredible story of Dynasty. And that's exactly what they did. You see, co-creator Esther Shapiro said their whole goal was to create an American fantasy, a world of just unbelievable opulence that viewers could escape into every single week. And for 9 whole seasons, millions of us did just that. So let's get into how this television empire was really built. So, picture this. It's 1981, and primetime television is completely ruled by one show. CBS's monster hit, Dallas. ABC desperately needed a contender, right? A show that could go toe-to-toe with the Ewings and their Texas oil empire. Their answer was a show that was originally, and very simply, titled Oil. But here's the thing. Dynasty started out as a very different show than the one we all remember. That first season, it was a much more serious, almost art house kind of family drama. It focused a lot on business deals and the moral struggles of the super rich Carrington family. It was good, for sure, but it wasn't the kind of blockbuster the network was really banking on. And, the numbers from that first season really tell the whole story. Dynasty was only modestly popular, landing way down at number 28. Meanwhile, its big rival, Dallas, was sitting pretty at number 1. It was pretty clear that if the Carringtons were going to survive, something drastic had to change. And that change? Well, it arrived in the form of a veiled surprise witness, a pair of giant sunglasses, and a character who would single-handedly rewrite the rules of television. This really brings us to the million-dollar question. What does it take to turn a show that's just kinda treading water into a massive cultural phenomenon? For Dynasty, the answer wasn't some new plot twist or a change of scenery. Nope, it was a person. The effect was, well, it was immediate. For season 2, they brought in a new writing team, and just like that, the show jumped into the top 20. All those serious business-focused storylines? Out. Over-the-top, delicious melodrama? All the way in. And it was all thanks to the arrival of one truly unforgettable character. That's right, the answer was Alexis, played by the absolutely brilliant Joan Collins. The vengeful, scheming, and utterly fabulous ex-wife of Blake Carrington strolled into that courtroom, and from that moment on, Dynasty was never, ever the same. I mean, Alexis just turned the entire show on its head. She wasn't just a villain, she was a force of nature. Her catty remarks, her constant manipulations, she polarized the whole series, and in doing so, created the iconic rivalry that became its heart and soul, Crystal versus Alexis. With Alexis officially in the mix, Dynasty just exploded. It became the absolute epitome of 1980s excess, a weekly spectacle of high fashion, bitter feuds, and pure fantasy that had the entire nation hooked. And by 1985, it was the #1 show in America. And if you want to talk about excess, get ready for this number. The show's costume designer, a genius named Nolan Miller, had a weekly wardrobe budget of $35,000. I mean, that's more than a lot of people made in a whole year, spent every single week just on clothes. Nolan Miller's philosophy was pretty simple. No repeats. Ever. This absolute commitment to unique, over-the-top fashion made the clothes a character in their own right. Those power suits and shoulder pads didn't just reflect the era, they helped define it. And of course, all that high-end glamour often ended up, well, in the mud. The legendary catfights between Crystal and Alexis became must-see TV. And they happened everywhere, from fancy art studios to lily ponds. These brawls became the absolute gold standard for television drama. So by its 5th season, Dynasty had pretty much perfected the art of the cliffhanger. But in 1985, the show delivered a season finale so shocking, so completely bananas, that it has gone down in television history. It was called the Moldavian Massacre. During a royal wedding, terrorists storm the chapel, and the episode ends with the entire main cast gunned down. 25.9 million viewers were left hanging all summer long, wondering who could have possibly survived. The answer, as it turned out, was almost everyone. Only 2 minor characters were actually killed off. Can you believe it? But here's the crazy part. The reveal didn't even matter. The cliffhanger did its job. That season 6 premiere, where everyone tuned in to see what happened, became the single most watched episode in the show's entire run. And it just proved Dynasty's core philosophy. More was always more.
But as they say, even a dynasty can't last forever. After hitting that incredible peak, the show that had defined a decade began a slow but very steady decline.
And that decline was just as dramatic as its storylines. From being the #1 show in the country, Dynasty plummeted all the way down to number 69 in its final season. As the plots got more and more outlandish and key cast members started leaving, audiences just began to tune out. I mean, the final seasons were a total whirlwind of amnesia plots, a spinoff called The Colbys that didn't last very long, and of course the big departure of Linda Evans as Crystal. Then, in May of 1989, ABC canceled the show, leaving it, you guessed it, on yet another unresolved cliffhanger. But the story doesn't really end with the cancellation. Dynasty's mark on pop culture was permanent. This wasn't just a TV show, it was a brand. It launched fashion lines, perfumes, you name it. It won a Golden Globe for Best Drama, and its influence on fashion is still around today. Heck, it even found new life with a reboot for a whole new generation back in 2017. Which kind of brings us to a final thought. Dynasty was a pure American fantasy, a total escape from the real world. In today's TV landscape, which is so often focused on being gritty and realistic, it really makes you wonder, is there still a place for that kind of pure, unapologetic, over-the-top glamour? Something to think about.